Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the live Q&A session for the Local Government Relief Fund for the state of Iowa. With the round one period closing on September 15th, we are aware quite a few people have questions, and we wanted to give you a chance to ask those. We are going to take the first 10 to 15 minutes or so to do a very high-level overview of the application and the RFR cost summary workbook. And then we are going to have live Q&A. The live Q&A format will be in the form of chat questions, as well as you can raise your hand to answer questions, and we will unmute you one question at a time for as long as we have time. So in order to begin, we will go ahead and let's get started. I am Jennifer Mountcastle. Some of you have already spoken to me or emailed with me. And Natalie Wallace is presenting, and she will go over the workbook. Natalie?
Thanks, Jennifer. So as you guys are probably familiar, on this instructions tab, we've got the application website, which would actually occur and take place after the completion of this Excel workbook. So before I take you to the application website, I just wanted to go over a couple of high-level points, and some of these are common questions that we've been receiving from you guys. So if we start here at the bottom in this yellow box area, what we need in these cells would first be the date of your fiscal year 2020 payroll budget for public health and for public safety. And this is just the fiscal year 20. We understand that this period, since it is from March through July, does cross over fiscal years. However, we only need the fiscal year 2020 budget as it relates to the public health payroll only line item, and on the box below, the public safety payroll only item. This is the only time where this 25% figure is utilized. So when we fill this out, if your most recent fiscal year 2020 budget was amended as of March 1st, we would put that in, as well as the payroll line item budget. So if your payroll line item budget for public health was $2.5 million, what this is going to do here is take in 5 months of this annual budget at the 25% rate. And the reason that this would be a 5 months, because March through July is 5 months. So it's just an estimate of what that number would be. In this case, it's stating that approximately $260,000 of the fiscal year 2020 public health employees payroll budget for 5 months would be $260,000. So that number would be the most that you would be eligible to request by providing this support here, beginning on line 67 through 69 of the most current application Excel workbook, provided that the state has allocated you at least $260,000 in this example. That is not to state that you can't obtain more dollars from utilizing the other costs or for going above and beyond this 25% in terms of labor. However, if you do go above and beyond this 25% worth of labor that you would like to request during this period, that is where the more extenuating items are being requested, as you can see on the screen here from rows 72 to 77. But all of these additional items are only required if you're requesting more than 25% of that budgeted payroll line item as it relates to the fiscal year 2020. In addition to this payroll item, you can also submit other costs through this other costs worksheet. And those items would need to be supported by these items listed here, beginning on row 48, going through row 64. So that is one of the most important items I would like to bring out with regards to the instructions tab. Moving from the instructions tab over to the labor cost worksheet tab, just to point out another question we've been asked multiple times. These dates up here are not individual dates, they are pay period beginning dates. So if your pay period was from March 1st to March 14th, that would be 3-1 in this column, and then would leave 315 in the next column. If you have a period that was beginning, let's say February 20th, that went through March 7th, you would include only the March pay period hours as it related to that pay period within these yellow boxes here. And these yellow boxes that you see within the screen are to be actual, total, and full hours. There is no multiplication of 25% of those hours in there. Those are actual hours that those employees worked during the period March 1st through the end of July. Once you have completed this entire worksheet, then you go up to the top here and can click on the application website. And if we wait here for a second, it'll load. And in order to complete that, you'd fill out an email address. You would select your city or county, and please note that for several cities and counties that have the same name, it'll say county next to it, or we go down, I know there was a Webster one. There's Webster, Webster City, Webster County. So please make sure that you are selecting the appropriate entity that you belong with. The next question, is this your final request? What this question is asking is whether or not this request you are putting in will use all of your state allocated money, or if there's going to be a subsequent request coming in the near future that covers the second period, which would be August through September. So you would make your selection. The total amount requested, this is the amount you're asking the state to reimburse you for. Next, you'd put in your address, you'd put in your DUNS number, and please note that if you do not put in the appropriate 9 digits, you should be flagged. And for the FEIN number, this is the number, and it does not include any dashes. So please do not include a dash, because if you put in a dash, you're not going to have all of your digits eligible to be input in here. So you'll be missing a digit if you put in that dash. So please do not do that. And you can see when you hover over it, it says right there on the screen to please only enter in numbers. When you proceed to the next screen, these are the toggle features at the bottom right that we are to use. If you use the back button or forward button up at the top with your browser, you will lose all of the information that you have previously input. So please make sure that if you do need to go back, you're using the previous button down at the bottom right, and you're using the next button at the bottom right to forward on to the next page. So after you type in your primary contact, this is the person you want us to reach out to requesting additional information or to communicate with regarding the status of your project. This next section is the alternate. This is who you want us to reach out to in addition to the primary contact. This is just in case the primary contact is not available. We will need to talk to more than one person, and they will be CC'd and copied on every single email going forward unless you tell us otherwise. So this is kind of like the backup. So if we just type in department, title, phone numbers, email, forward to the next screen. Next, you have different sections here for uploading. The first one is that approved resolution that we spoke about in the last training session that we had done. You can click the select file to upload. And when you have the item you like, you select it, click open, and it will upload. If you need to upload more than one, you can click the upload more button and go in and select items you need to upload. You'll see now that there's 3, the initial one I uploaded and then the 2 others I added to it. If you do not select upload more and you select upload, and I'll do that here for you now, and you try to go back in and upload more, you will lose those 3 that you previously uploaded. So please make sure that you have them selected and that you're uploading them as appropriate. If you don't have anything included in here, you will be flagged that the item was required and that it was not included, so you will not be able to continue. So there's the 3. Next, request for reimbursement cost summary. This is the actual worksheet that we are working on that I had just shown you, that Excel workbook that we have requested for you to complete prior to submitting this. So if we go here, attach, this will be your request for reimbursement cost summary workbook, and upload that. Next, we would upload all the supporting documents. This would be supporting documents that we had just mentioned herein on the instructions tab. For other costs, it would include all of these items listed here, such as your invoice, a justification of cost, a receiving report or shipping ticket, proof of payment or proof of encumbrance, and then the procurement policy that relates to those individual line items. You would need to support all of this information for every single item that you are claiming within the other costs. You would also include in there your payroll registers, your pay rate support for all of the individual employees that you've included within this request for reimbursement cost summary workbook. In addition to that, if you are requesting over that 25% of the fiscal year 20 budgeted payroll amount for public health and or public safety employees, in addition to the payroll register, pay rate support, you would be including the payroll policy, timesheets, and an activity log. An activity log is a statement. It can be in the form of a memo, can be an email document, it can be next to your timesheet, or it could be an actual log that stipulates the activities. What it needs to contain is what those individual employees were working on and how that ties into COVID. That is what is meant by an activity log. But again, that is only required if you are submitting a request for reimbursement that is over 25% of the public health and public safety payroll line item as it relates to your fiscal year 2020 budget. So if we go in and let's just upload, pretending this is the support that I had just mentioned. If you have more than 10 attachments or they are larger than 250 MB, you will need to select yes, and this will ask you to upload more. If you do not have any more than 10 attachments, you can select no, and it'll let you go on to the next section. This is an additional comment box if there's anything in here that you need to tell us or want to let us know regarding your support or the items that you have uploaded. If there's nothing that you need to state, you can state none or leave it blank. Next, you can select which one applies with regards to FEMA. If you do not meet the minimum project threshold of $3,300 and you are unable to submit an application to FEMA, you would select the first box. If that does not apply to you, you need to select the second box and also make sure that you have submitted a reimbursement request to FEMA for any items that are eligible to be paid for by FEMA before requesting reimbursement from the state of Iowa under the Local Government Relief Fund. And you are also certifying that you have not duplicated any expenses. You cannot get reimbursed for expenses from the state of Iowa and also from any other state or federal grant program, including FEMA. Next, you are just affirming that you are a duly authorized and empowered representative of the state or county, and that everything that you are submitting is true and accurate to the best of your belief and does not include any omissions of material facts or errors to the best of your belief. And that you have also, again, not requested reimbursement from other items, from other sources, as well as from the state of Iowa underneath the Local Government Relief Fund. This next box, you are just stating your name, your title, your department, and then your city or county that you represent. When all of this is completed, you will hit submit. Once you hit submit, you will be prompted and shown an application. A copy of the completed application looks as follows, and I'll pull one up here for you that we just got in a few minutes ago. This is what you receive when you are done via email. It is all the information you just uploaded, and at the end includes this project number. That project number is how we will reference your project going forward. Are there any questions, I guess, regarding the submission of this application process or on the RFR workbook at this time that we can address?
Let's try Laura Schaefer. Laura? Can you hear us, Laura?
Yes, I guess my question has to do with, we're going to plan on submitting to FEMA, and we understand that 75% of the eligible expenses, up to 75, would get reimbursed by FEMA. So does the other 25% somehow play into this submission?
So
No,
this
it does not.
This is a popular question. That other 25% is handled through Iowa Homeland Security. And if you go to the Iowa's homepage and local reimbursement, so coronavirus.iowa.gov, and then go to local reimbursement, underneath where you downloaded this application or this workbook summary is EM Grants portal, where it discusses the FEMA and Homeland Security. That's where you want to go to find out about that 25%. And if we have someone here from Homeland Security, they can feel free to comment.
Hi, this is Kate Waters. I'm on with Iowa Homeland Security and Emergency Management. So the 25%, if you've already submitted costs under the FEMA Public Assistance Program, the 25% will be a natural payment. You don't have to do anything in addition to the normal process for FEMA PA.
Thanks, Katie. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. On that one, I guess I do have another one on payroll. So I know we can submit 2 times, and you had addressed starting at the pay dates with the time we're starting March 1st. Then do we follow the same philosophy? If we're in the middle of a payroll with the ending date of July 31st, we only count the hours worked through July 31st, and then hours worked in August would go with the second submission, even though it's a split payroll?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question.
Next on the list is Rita Packingham. Rita, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Hi, I'm from the city of Marion. I have a couple of questions. One is, when I submitted to FEMA, I did not submit any labor expenses to FEMA. So I'm assuming, and I was told I did not need to submit those to FEMA in order to get them through the state of Iowa. Is that correct?
So that really depends on your labor expenses. And once your package is, once your application is evaluated, your analyst will reach out to you and advise you as to whether or not your labor lines are reimbursable through the LGRF program. And if you have a contact with your FEMA application, do you have an open application right now for other funds?
I do, and we did not have, so FEMA is only reimbursing for the overtime. I mean,
right.
As far as for us, and I am not submitting any overtime to the state of Iowa. So everything that I'm submitting to the state of Iowa or preparing to submit would be not eligible for FEMA.
All right, then that's exactly what you need to do, is what it sounds like. That appears to be what you need to do.
Okay, thank you. My second question is there the ability, if I get in the middle of uploading my documents, and let's say I've uploaded the first couple of sections I've uploaded, can I save at that point, or do I need to finish the application before? Is there the ability to save in the middle of the process?
No, there's no ability to save in the middle of the process. You would need to finish uploading and submit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next question is Heather Sweden. Heather, you're being unmuted. Can you hear us, Heather?
I can.
Heather, we can barely hear you there. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Just barely.
Is that better? Can you guys hear me?
A little bit. Do you want to give it a try?
Or is there a different way?
Go ahead and ask it. If we can't hear you, we'll ask for clarity.
Okay. So we have a 28E agreement with the county for public safety. It's paid through accounts payable, not payroll. And I'm wondering, I'm told we can submit for that on the other cost worksheet. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. You would submit that on the other cost worksheet.
So what do I choose for the, like, none of the drop downs seemed sufficient, and what type of supporting documentation do I need for that?
Natalie, since you have the cost workbook open, can you advise on the typical cost category? I don't have one open in front of me.
Sure.
For a 2080.
I'm scrolling down. Here it is. Other cost worksheet. In this case, instead of the invoice, justification of cost, receiving proof of payment, you would be including a copy of the contract, the invoice where you remitted the payment, the proof of proof of encumbrance, and make sure that on the invoice and or on the agreement it has that time period that was covered. If the time period covered, is related to the whole year, then make sure that you're only claiming those periods as it relates to March through July 31st for this first period of submission.
Okay.
Any other questions?